Hi, my name is Charlie. It's great to be here, Sam. It's kind of interesting. I've been on some great journeys, and I always wind up in Vancouver with you, so it's a good path. And the fact that everyone here tonight is gathered to hear so many great stories by so many great people is a real testament to your city and yourselves. You don't see that in many places around the world where people are so engaged on all aspects. So you're a great curator, Sam, and you're a great audience. So thank you. I'm actually a little tired right now. I've actually had an incredible month. It's been one of the best months of my life. I don't know how many people can boast this. A few weeks ago, I was traveling through the Mississippi Delta with my golden retriever, going into schools with blues musicians and kind of interpreting the Deep South. And then I turn around, fly through Vancouver. Sam meets me, he mentions this Salon, and I was off to the Arctic. I just want to say, the minds first I met, like these women from Ghana, isn't it exciting when you see leadership and you realize that the world is okay? Which kind of leads me to a state. I've been in all these schools, because even when I was doing this polar bear project in the Arctic, I always go to schools, because they call me Professor Charlie, and it's a lot of fun. And what I've come to my deeply intellectual thesis here is that kids are innately smarter than adults. And so really with exploring what I do, I've always called this, I call it Sesame Street for adults. I don't know why we're so obsessed with educating the future when we need to re-educate ourselves. And so it's really interesting. I started this campaign in the Arctic, and I'm really in the middle of it. In fact, I feel like I'm in the middle of something that's the most special thing in my life, because it's pure. And it's called Pearls of the Planet. It's a vision I've had for 15 years. It's even missing on this board because I never even told Sam. In Pearls of the Planet, the concept was to allow people to observe the natural world and re-fall in love with it. I didn't mention climate change. I didn't mention poverty. I mentioned falling in love again with the world we live in. So right now, I went to the Arctic to make a film. Well, the film, I don't even care about, actually. That's a whole other talk about new media and film today. But the point is, I say that because right now the world is falling in love with these polar bears. In about 12 days, I think, I can't even believe this number, but about 40 to 60,000 hours people have digested on explore.org. What is a football game? In America is 3 hours. I don't know what a hockey game is, but do the math. I didn't graduate from those classes, so help me out. So let's talk about this project, because I could talk about a lot of things, but I want to really boil it down to falling in love again in simplistic truths, and watch how it works. I've been with all these scientists. I didn't understand a word they said. They scared me. Oh, boy. Doom and gloomers. It's interesting. To me, the great mind just passed away. He was the Walt Disney of this generation, Steve Jobs, and I picked up his book on the flight up, and he emphasizes something, which is the convergence of, it's like technology and science and the humanities, and there's this effortless flow there. So I guess what he's saying is there's this harmonious relationship between emotions and mind. So that said, I don't know. I'm doing this Pearls of the Planet, and I'm here with all these scientists. And when you're with really smart people, it allows you to kind of take a divergent view. So let me just sum up global warming in a nutshell, and the polar bears, and what I challenge you all to do, because this experiment is taking place right now. This is not a past, and this is not a future. While you sit here, this is taking place. And that's why social media is very exciting. Here's how I see the story. Sesame Street for adults. Watch how it works. If you observe the polar bear in the wild, you'll start to notice that he kind of reminds you of a big dog. You'll fall in love with him, okay? Fall in love with my friend. What does he need to do? He needs to get to the sea ice so he can go home and eat. Right? Well, that's, without me even saying that, if you start going on to explore.org, you'll see it right on our homepage. You'll start seeing people already saying, well, why isn't this bear, when is he going to get to eat? So now let's take science over a 5-year period. Just like in America, they have this day, it's called Groundhog Day, and Groundhog Day is like, I think this furry creature comes out and it's spring. Well, I think what's going to happen is it'll be kind of like a polar bear day. And what that means is people of all ages will gather each year around these bears, and they're going to want to know one thing. When does the ice freeze so my friend can go home and eat? Fairy tale. Well, where's the wisdom? Well, the wisdom is you become scientists because you're observing the natural world without even you knowing it. And if the ice freezes this day, but next year it's a week later, I think inherently you're going to wake up every morning with your kid or your friend and say, did the ice freeze? And if it didn't, you're going to say, well, what can I do better as an individual, as a society, to make it happen? So this is really interesting. This is it going on right now. I haven't even mentioned that little story, but you'll read it. So tomorrow, if you have the opportunity, I recommend it because it's fun to fall in love again, isn't it? We always worry about the kids, but and that's what Pearls of the Planet is, just by observing the world you live in. And so it's really neat. It's kind of a dream, and I just happened to be passing through, and Sam's having a salon, and I didn't even know I was coming up, honestly. So our mantra at explore.org is never stop learning. And just recently, above it is usually my dog travels with me. Most people know that. I mean, you know me, he's getting up there. He was just in the Arctic. Before that, he was in Mississippi. I created this campaign called Dog Bless You. It's about 300,000 fans on it now. There's more images than maybe every dog site combined. Why? Because it's pure. And so both these places I invite you, because I can say that I don't know if there's many places out there that will make you feel this way. And so I invite you to kind of fall in love again, which is, I just came up with that when I looked at this bear, and maybe another time we could do some Q&As. Sam says, I make films. I don't care if anyone ever sees the Arctic film, because everyone's watching it now and falling in love. It's exciting. So go to explore.org tomorrow if you have an opportunity, and feel free to ask questions. Observe the world you live in, And thank you.